Okay, so I think that the recording is on. Yes, there you go. Good stuff. Okay, so let's get this started. Hello, everyone. My name is Ferdinando Castro, and I'm here alongside Orlando, Yusha, and Marcus. We are your officers, and we're going to try to direct this conversation as best as we can so all of you can enjoy it and learn a little bit during our conversations. As usually, I'm going to explain a little bit of the house rules for those who are new. We do have a system for us to record who's going to be speaking first and who's going to be speaking last or who is not going to speak. So you just have to write an exclamation mark as I knew user was going to do. Thank you so much. That is a wonderful example of how you're supposed to do. So for instance, in this case, if I just go to this, user will be first and me will be second. That's basically how it goes. Um, if you raise your hand, I will see you, but I will encourage you to use this thing because I won't be able to know exactly if you're going to be where. Yeah, so with that being said, I'm gonna let Nancy do the announcements, and then we just kickstart the conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Fernando. A couple of announcements really quickly. Okay, of course, look for us on social media. We're on everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. So you can find us there. Again, every meeting is recorded and posted to YouTube. We have over 100 videos on our YouTube channel, spanning 5.5 years or so. So go check it out. A lot of fun. Recorded, a lot of fun on record. Get involved. Couple of other more event-specific announcements. Well, first of all, check me out. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I will be delivering a presentation on behalf of the Journalism Speaker Series. So if you're unfamiliar with the Journalism Speaker Series, essentially every other Wednesday on the Journalism Teams page, they have guest speakers from faculty from around the district who speak on things related to journalism that also pertain to their particular field. So I will be speaking on political rhetoric, political philosophy in journalism. So I'll be focusing on political rhetoric, explaining just how it relates to political philosophy in general, as well as, again, how it pertains to journalism in particular. They are very quick presentations. It's a 20-minute presentation followed by 10-minute Q&A session. They're half an hour a piece every other Wednesday. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. You can dip in, listen, leave, have lunch while you listen. It's a really cool thing. I'm really happy to be involved. I was happy that they invited me. So that's going to be tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. And it's every other Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. on the Teams page for journalism. So yeah, drop by. It's going to be fun. And then also April 14th, 41421, folks, we have the final film series installment. I'm in the middle of negotiating with the studio to show a particular film. Well, it's not just a film; it's a series of films, vignettes, all starring the same two characters, only two characters. It's called We Don't Know. I'm pretty certain I'll be able to get permission to screen it. It's not on Canopy, but it is I should say the films are themselves very applicable to this month's theme of society and the individual and what is community. It's a total airing time of about 26 minutes, so it's going to be a very quick film series screening. Again, we'll open it up at 4 o'clock. We'll begin the screening at 4:30, and then we'll have conversation. What's going to happen for this particular one is that we're going to watch one string or one series of vignettes, pause, discuss, and then watch the second string of vignettes and discuss. So it's going to be fun. I recommend coming by, checking it out. Again, this isn't like a 2-hour, 2.5-hour, 3-hour commitments like they usually are. These are going to be we're talking 2-minute scenes a piece. And I'm going to, of course, describe cinematically what a vignette is and what they're going for. Essentially, they're going for the interstitials, the interstices, the in-between moments that comprise a human being's life. All right, and then last but not least, we've got the Dallas College Philosophy Conference. That's happening on April 27th, a Tuesday, kicking off at 10 a.m. and then concluding with a philosophy club meeting. We've got 3 guest speakers booked. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're curious about it, again, feel free to go to the files on our Teams page, the one you're at right now, and open up the call for submissions. If you'd like to present, you're more than welcome to. Again, presentations are around 15 minutes, so it's very quick, a little time for Q&A. Maybe 1 or 2 questions, if that, depending on the length of your submission. And again, they need not be strictly essay-based or PowerPoint presentation-based. Those are welcome, but they could be much more creative than that, much more, when I say creative, I mean in terms of the format. So they could be musical pieces, they could be, visual art-based pieces, they could be more poetic. It's not necessarily anchored in some sort of academic style. The style is varied, and we encourage variance. So yeah, let me know if you're interested in that, and I'd be happy to give you more information. And also, if you're curious about the link to the journalism speaker series, I can send you that as well. All right, I'll throw it back over to Fernando.
All right.
That was it for today, folks.
Yeah, that was a short announcement right there. We're gonna try to do the summary later. All right, but I one question before. You did say to check you out, but we don't have a link. So feel free to have to post the link in the chat so people can actually check you out. Otherwise, we just know that you're gonna be presenting and you're gonna be on our prayers, but no, nothing beyond that.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. And again, if you go to if you want to join the Journalism Speaker Series Teams page, you can do that too. Just search for it. But yeah, I'll leave the link. I'll do that right now with that. And it's the same link every other Wednesday. So again, if you're interested in journalism, I strongly recommend it. But okay, yeah, I'll do that right now.
Okay. And Jennifer, she wrote, interesting. My English 2 assignment is about CSEC, just speaking of political philosophy. Well, technically, the assignment is on figurative language, and we have to evaluate a piece of music. The title is Chorus La Voix, so 3 dots. So there you go. There is something in there. All right. So let's not delay the conversation, and let's just get started. I know that Orlando is looking forward to steal some of our ideas, so let's not keep that waiting too much. So today's topic, as you can see in the chat there, is individual and society. So what is the relationship between one's individual identity and the society that influences it? And what type of individuals can our society develop? And are individuals truly free to set their own identity, or will society dictate what a person could be? So what do you think? I mean, I do believe that society plays a decent role, being here a little bit generous on the person that we end up being. Am I even okay? There you go. Yes, thank you, Yusha, for turning on the camera. Otherwise, for a moment, I thought that my internet was off. Is it like, oh no, my internet is off. Okay, there you go. There is a link in the chat for those interested in watching Nancy there. So yes, as I was saying, I do think that our society plays a huge role in who we ended up being, because they are the one who place the first bits of information in our data. That then is that we ended up using to form who we are. So, and I did think that in that conversation we ended up saying that it is impossible for us to live without a society. There is no such a thing. So yeah, I mean, I think that the relation is there, but I'm looking forward to see what you want to say about this regard. Again, I don't know if my internet is working. It feels like I can only see Yusha, so that's the first. I guess I'm gonna say this. Can you hear me? Say press 1 if you can hear me. Otherwise, am I mute? Maybe I'm muted.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you perfectly well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, now I see that there's a lot going on. Thank you for the 1, Jennifer. That was amazing. Okay. All right. So yes, that's good. Thank you. Okay.
Right, well,
Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to introduce the topic again. The monthly theme for this month is society. So last Tuesday, we discussed what constitutes a society. And we spent a lot of our conversation differentiating society from things like community, things like a club, a collective, along these lines. Not necessarily completely differentiating it, but nonetheless trying to figure out what exactly is a society and how is it different from other forms of communal human gathering, we'll say. So this meeting, we're picking up on that, and we're going to continue to sort of delve into this question. So today's particular topic, society and the individual, as Fernando said earlier, it has to do with, again, what is an individual when it comes to society? And I'll throw this out there to kind of kick things off. The noun individual comes from the verb individuate. So individuate is one of those verbs where it needs a direct object. You can't individuate from nothing. You individuate yourself from something else. So an individual means I'm different from all other members of my society. Not completely, of course, and we can get into the overlaps and maybe things that make people unique. But that's the idea here, is what is the relationship between the individual and society? When I say society, again, like we said last time, I don't mean, a community per se. I mean like a community that is governed by a federal government of some sort, that has a governing authority involved in it, that has laws, that has, rules and regulations. Society. So, yeah, I guess the real question for today's meeting is how does one individuate while growing and being raised and coexisting in a society? Am I muted?
Yes, you are absolutely. You have to start from the beginning. Okay, but I do like the question that you're posing out there. Because I do think that you make it clear than what I was trying to say. But yeah, George, go ahead.
So Jeff asked, how do we individuate from society? And I just wanted to throw out there that probably the easiest and simple way to do that, and not necessarily the best, is to take whatever society is doing or the way you perceive society is doing something and just do the opposite of that thing. Teenagers are great at this. They have a sense for what's mainstream, right? And if mainstream is, dressing a certain way and, being popular or doing sports or whatever, you have your goth teenagers or whatever who dress in the exact opposite of whatever that is because they're individuals. So I thought that was humorous. I guess as teenagers we are learning ourselves and how we fit in or don't fit in with society. And a lot of times we don't want to blend into the crowd, so we just do the opposite of whatever the crowd is doing. I think it'd be better if we did something a little more nuanced than that.
Yes, but I mean, it is funny, yeah, and I agree with you to some degree. But it is also this part that if everyone is doing the opposite in some degree, you're doing the same. It's kind of like it's like how it is called, like a grade. Well, in Spanish, it's like grado 37, which is like you need something to do the other thing, but that thing makes you do the other thing. Like they're correlated and they're chasing each other. Um, it's just funny to me because they're looking to individualize themselves from society, and by doing so, they are like fitting into a specific area of their society that already existing. But I see that you said you're next.
Hey, sorry, I was having some troubles with my mic. But yeah, when it comes to society, it's like always my favorite topic. And as George mentioned, for us to not be a part of society, you just have to do what others are not doing, because then you're looked at like a social outcast, to say. But I disagree with that, honestly, because when you do that, you are still being a part of a culture that does not associate themselves with the society. So hence you are being social, just in a different manner of speaking. And to say that, okay, I'm a part of this society, for that I need to give up some of my my freedoms to be part of it. Like, I can't just go out and kill anyone, I can't run through the streets without my clothes. I can't pick a fight on the streets. These are some social contracts that you get into just by the virtue of being in a society. And these are the the human, not human rights, what did I say? The freedoms, the basic freedoms that you're choosing to give up by being a part of this society. Vice versa, if you say, okay, I want to be able to do these things, but I don't want to live in a society. Okay, you're more than welcome to go live in the woods or desert or just away from any society, right? Even then, you're giving up a lot of your freedoms in a sense that you can't overhunt, you can't you can't cause major deforestation because you yourself will cause your own demise. Like if I overhunt rabbits in my area or deer, gazelle, whatever, in the long future, I'm causing a demise for myself because then I won't have as much to eat and I'm disrupting the entire food chain. So even then, I have to be careful that I should not hunt ducks that are not in season. Even then, I'm in a social contract, not with any person, but with myself and with my own surroundings. So can we actually truly be an individual and be in a society?
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. I will let Orlando respond if he wants to respond to that. Since you're next.
No, I don't think I will be responding. I think I'll
Okay.
be asking a different question here, actually. So, my question would be, do we really even have full autonomy to accept or reject society? Or is it already kind of decided for us? And the reason I say that is because you can say, oh, well, we always have the choice to do things, so on and so forth. But when you grow up into a world, you're essentially molded to accept things. You have to accept certain laws, ways to treat other people, even of learning how to eat, learning how to walk, learning how to speak. You literally learn that from someone else. You learn that from a pre-existing, I guess, authority. And so it's the very same thing with society. It's that even if you decide to reject it later on in life, the influence it had on you, regardless, is going to stay with you. You can try to combat it, you can try to change it, but to some extent, it will have some kind of remnants within you. So then that kind of asks the question, okay, then how do we create new? Like, how do we create a new society? Sort of, what is new really? Because you think about things like fashion, you think about things like, technology. You can say things like, well, I want to be different, I want to be an individual, so I'm going to dress like this. Well, are you really dressing different? Let's say you're kind of a retro person. I want to dress like the 80s. Well, guess what? You're accepting something that's already been accepted. So are you really different, or are you just choosing something that's already, like, different pathways within a society that already exist? So then when I ask the question, what's new? I don't really have a good answer for that, but I think to some extent it's kind of utility. Clothes now is different from the past because, we have fabric that is much more comfortable to wear. It's not hurting you, so on and so forth. So it seems to me like this idea of individual and society, it's kind of hard to distinguish the two of them because to some extent you get your individualism from the society. So.
Yeah. I mean, I that touch a lot. I don't know if it's the same in the United States, but in Venezuela we do say that there is nothing new, that everything is recycled. Like it's kind of like there's three things that is being done and they keep being done like all the time. Like TV shows is always the same. It's just that you didn't know that was done before, but it's the same cartoon, but it's done differently. So yeah, like things are hardly new, and I do agree with you with that. What it changed is kind of like how it is presented, but it's basically the same. And okay, we have to be very careful now because Marcus is the next one. Get comfortable, get your popcorns. It's gonna get a little bit ballistic here. So Marcus, go. You can go.
Um, talking about, individuating yourself from society, trying to become, your own special piece of, think about everyone's like everyone's a piece of clay, okay, dropped in the world, all right? And you're trying to make your piece of clay different from that piece of clay, all right, in your own way. And not just that, but like finding what you accept to be you along with what you accept to be good. You want to, I'm assuming some people just want to be bad, I guess. But the point I'm trying to get to is that as a child, you're discovering yourself, you're doing different things. I literally had a different hairstyle like every day for a period of time in high school because I was so intensely diversifying myself on purpose. I was like, what am I? I was like really annoyed. I was like, damn it, what am I supposed to be? And it's very annoying when you feel so vague. You know, you have a name, but it's like, what am I though? Okay, a table's a table, but what's a Marcus? All right, you know, what's a Ferdinando? What's a Jeff? You know, it's all these things. So, but then we get comfortable. We notice as we get older, we get more comfortable in our skin, or we find that we don't have anxiousness about, you know, what we're gonna wear when we wake up. How are we gonna be perceived? We get kind of comfortable with how we are. And at a point, I believe it switches into a dangerous level where we get too comfortable with how we are. And we forget that we're allowed to change. Because as a child, we're changing all the time. I would get annoyed when I would be like, all right, mom, I'm not eating any more fast food. You know, I'm gonna go vegetarian, all right? And then she goes, all right. And the next day, you know, we're passing by a Wendy's, and I go, you know, let's see about that. You know, let's see about that real quick. Let's see about a Frosty. So what the, I thought you just, and I was like, well, I switched up today. And then another day I was you know, gouging on bags of hot Cheetos. Then I was like, you know what? I'm going healthy. You just ate a bunch of hot Cheetos. You can't, I can change fast. What? Are we not allowed to change on a flip of a coin? The Cheetos bag made me realize some things. Okay. But it's like, this is like, I feel like we're afraid of what it means to like change ourselves, and where we're going to end up somewhere different that we're not used to being. And when you're older, you're not used to that feeling. Okay, you've gotten rid of that feeling of uneasiness because it's used to your childhood. But in a way, you almost need to embrace it then to ensure that your little ball of clay stays how it should be and doesn't get too hard in a rock in a community that should be thriving. But because you're stuck in your quote individuating, you know, of yourself that you did back in, you know, your first year of college. Oh wow, I've become my own man. 2 years later, you're like, that was a dumb guy. What was he thinking? It's like, you're never done. You should never be done or think you're done. And you really realize that, I think, when you look at your parents, you know, when you realize just how different you are from your parents, especially, you know, in my age, I feel like there's a big generational gap. And you're like, did they stop changing? Because I'm still trying to change. But like, my dad seems to like really like, you know, he's just stuck in a way, it seems. And I have talk to him, but it's like, what do these words do then? If he's a hardened piece of clay, you know? And I think that balancing, individuating yourself to a point, but not overdoing it, where you get so lost in individuating that you forget that you're supposed to be able to change yourself too. And to be able to, that's how a cohesive community, I believe, is built, through communicating with your community. And a worldview these days, though, is so big that I think, you know, with technology and everything, it's made us think that the world's so much bigger than what it is. You know, we forget that you walk outside and there's a neighborhood right there. You know, there's 20 people on your block. That's a lot of people. Oh, 10 people liked your Instagram post. Whoop-de-doo. There's 100 people on your block, bro. You know, go talk. Like, those are your community. Like, I feel like we've lost this neighborhood of like community, because we've been in such a rush, you know, for communicating with the world, that our world's gotten so big now that we've neglected the small parts of the world that made it such a good world to begin with. I worked with a really old guy, and I was like, what was it like to, like, by really what I mean, like 86, all right, not like Jeff. That's like mid really old, but
Yeah, I was about to say
but,
that, like, about like
but I was
nursing.
like, because he talks all the time about none of these neighborhoods were here. These whole highways, I remember nothing. And that's really hard for me to comprehend. Like, like, yeah, I see some apartment complexes going up to where I used to live, but it's like not on the scale of that generational gap. And I was like, what was it like, you know, living without cell phones, you know, walking into a room and everyone like looking up, actually talking, maybe, not feeling like they have to close themselves off to be safe from change on themselves, you know, anything to have control of. And he's like, it was totally different, you know. People talked, you know, we discussed things. He goes, I did so many things. We'd ride our bikes everywhere, all this, all that. And it's like, those are some simple things of life that we've forgotten, I feel. because we're so in a rush for progression that we neglect our roots a little. There we go. I'll close off there. Sorry.
Yeah. Are you sure you don't want to continue?
No, I'm
Like,
good.
I mean, you're gonna speak later.
Fantastic.
Don't worry. Yeah, you do bring up a lot of things, and one of the highlights of what you mentioned, and I think it does speak a bit of the differential gaps. You're thinking about us accepting that we are constantly allowed to change, but we change more than previous generations because of the type of society we are invested in. Like the internet, we're receiving so much new information that we are getting like a lot of potential additions that we can have in our personalities. When before that, like you didn't have that much exposure to new elements. You kind of like, I mean, if you weren't unable to travel that much, that neighborhood was your world, and that's basically it. So yeah, there are some people who are more stagnant because they grew up in a specific way, and then something else is just kind of like, you know what, I already accepted this, and you were mentioning that, and for me, it's kind of like, I don't know if the right word would be acceptance. If society is making you accept something that you don't really like, it's more kind of, I wouldn't even say acceptance. It's more like you just resignated yourself to kind of like play a specific role instead of trying to see if you can actually modify that view or perception about yourself. So I think accepting is too positive for this scenario, but I understand what you're saying. All right, so Mansi, you're next.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll keep it quick because yeah, I see the chat. There's a lot of conversation going on there, and yeah, everybody who's spoken up thus far has made fantastic points. I guess I'll just say this real quickly. I like this idea of playing with the tension between individual and society. Something that Orlando was saying struck me too. This idea of, and honestly, everybody was touching on this who spoke. Where do you learn freedom from? Where do you learn about what an individual is from? You learn it from your society. So the thing that teaches you how to differentiate yourself from it, I mean, there's something paradoxical about that. No, it's a really interesting relationship. It's almost again like it's like a helix where you learn about society, and then you sort of try to carve your own niche in it. But you learn about the parameters of freedom and of constraint from that society, which comes equipped with these governing rules or laws, which is to say, freedom and constraint. I do think, though, going back to something Fernando said, I do think this is worth focusing on as well. Yeah, great question. What is the definition of freedom? We could explore that today. But yeah, something Fernando said struck me as well. This idea of how to put this. Yeah, accepting might be too positive of a term, but it's almost like your freedom is very much determined by the conditions of your society. What's so fascinating about technology nowadays, this was Yusha's point, is that we're allowed to actually have a kind of more of a global perspective. But to Marcus's point, one of his many excellent points, we could sort of lose grasp of the subtle, smaller parts of not just your immediate community, but yourself and who you are. So I do think there's this tension, I want to hear people comment on it, between, I guess, becoming who you want to become without necessarily remaining stagnant, I guess. Again, going back to something Marcus was saying. But I do wonder, Marcus, maybe that's not, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, maybe you're free to explore who it is you want to become. And then once you've lived a few different lives, once you've, embodied a few different stereotypes and genres in your fashion or whatever the case may be, you're now in a position to decide exactly who it is that you want to be. And then when you freely make that choice, you be it.
Does deciding who I want to be just like I wear jeans on Friday, or is it like what you believe in, like what you accept as true, though? Like,
yeah, no, good follow up. I would say this, and again, this goes back to something else Fernando was saying. I mean, you can only be so free. This is really where I wanted to go with this conversation. You can only be so free in a society because there are laws, and if you break those laws repeatedly, you will no longer be a member of that society. So all of your liberties, all of your freedoms or privileges will be stripped from you. So it's like it's a freedom within constraint. But the other side of it is, what other freedom is there? Now, Marcus, you took a class with me where the entire focus was freedom in an existential way. So, I mean,
Loved it.
yeah, I love teaching. It was great. But drawing upon that, what would just like radical freedom even be? Because just like to individuate means you have to individuate from a greater collective, freedom kind of, it's that same kind of relationship grammatically. You're free to do something, which means you're free from things. So there's always a presupposed core or basis from which you deviate, from which you individuate, but only to a certain extent. Because if you deviate too far, you're a deviant. If you deviate too far from the rules that society governs for the benefit of all society, ostensibly, then you no longer are an individual. You can't be a full individual in that society. Again, you lose your liberties, you lose your privileges. So is freedom in society fully possible? Or is society necessary to fully maximize your individual freedom?
Okay.
You talk about, freedom from something, and, like what is, and that makes so much sense to me, because as something with freedom, the thing that you are free from is being something and being nothing else. A rock is a rock. It's always going to be a rock. A twig is a twig. It's always going to be a twig. A bush, a bush. A human being is born completely a blank slate, ambiguously. It's not an ant. It's not a worker ant. It's not a queen bee. It's not a crack in the pavement. Okay, as a thing. It's not a oval-shaped rock. Okay, it's a little this thing. And today I'm going to be a different thing than yesterday. That's what I'm free from yesterday. I'm free from whatever thing I was yesterday. I'm free every second from what I used to be. That's what freedom is. A rock is never free because it's always the one thing that it is. It can never change. It's never different from a second ago. It has no privileges of deciding, oh, I'm going to be different today. A tree has no freedom to, oh, I'm going to not, soak up the sunlight today. A bull has no freedom to go, oh, I'm not going to, get this work done today. Like all these things, because they're governed by a certain ruling class of nature. But humans seem to have peeked outside of that circle of nature, and we get to reach back and mess with that line of nature. We get to change ourselves. We get to become bodybuilders. We get to become overweight. We get to become underweight. We get to do all these different things, and that's the privilege and cost of freedom at the same time. It's almost like you're paying and receiving things from freedom as you use your freedom. Okay, you do. It's like basically karma, but it's like, oh no, I got too far there. I can't. I got to reel myself back. That was too much. But I'm done.
That's okay. Yeah, but you mentioned a couple of things. I will argue that in some aspect, animals are more free than humans, and it is
Free
interesting.
from freedom.
I mean, in some aspects, I think animals are more free than humans because they can just be, and they just be. But
Yeah,
we
they're
cannot
free from the
just
burden,
be.
that freedom.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean,
this is where the
isn't it
worldview
humans?
comes into play.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, and I've seen news of humans that want to be other species. There is one guy who he believes absolutely he's a fish, and he did like he update himself so he can actually breathe under the
If
water.
he really thought he was a fish, he would die outside of water. He would suffocate himself, and he would just go full
Well,
on into the ocean if he
that
truly
that
believed. But he knows deep down that he's a human, and he can't. But a fish would believe
eh, eh,
wholeheartedly
eh,
that it
I'm
needs
not
to be in
saying
the water.
I'm not arguing the logic behind it. What I'm telling you is like he's identifying himself as a fish, and we're talking about identity. So what makes about this society him
Oh.
think being able to think that he can be a fish? Like what in our society made him think something like that? I'm not
That's
saying this true or not,
But how can
but
you be a
something
fish
happened.
without the characteristics of a fish?
I'm
He actually thinks he's a
I'm with Marcus on this one.
But I'm
what
not
I like
saying
to think
anything.
of, okay,
I'm not taking
you,
any position. I'm not taking any
you,
position. I'm not taking
you
any
I want to
position.
wait,
I want to back up
you,
Fernando.
damn it. All right,
Fernando,
go.
Okay, let's go, Marcus. It's you and me versus Manzi and Ferdinando.
Okay, well,
That's
I
not
was
what
gonna
this
say,
is.
you say, what does it take for someone to get there? Imagine like everyone's life is a Rube Goldberg machine, okay? Everyone's Rube Goldberg machine's different, okay? And the
But
ball that you place in the Rube Goldberg machine or whatever is that piece of clay that I talk about. And every slip, slappity drop of that Rube Goldberg machine is going to be a different piece of clay. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? But then at the same time, you change clay. Anyway, go on, Manzi.
Yeah, we got to return to the queue. Orlando's making a good point. I just want
Yeah.
to say this. Fernando's point, and again, Fernando, you're not taking a position. I agree, but you do raise an interesting question, which is where does that mindset sort of enter into an individual's thought process? This idea that I can be a different species. Does that come from the sort of, I guess, values and I guess we'll just say philosophy that maybe is circulating around that society? If society teaches you can be whatever you want to be,
Yeah.
I mean,
But I'm gonna say this. It says something about the society he is in, and I will go into the queue because you will guess that this person is not, for example, in China. This guy is not in like in an Asian country and things like that. Is which there has a more traditional way of behaving. That's not happening. It's in another type of culture. But anyways, I'm just gonna continue the queue, and
that was a
Courtney
South
is
Park
next.
episode.
Hmm?
That was a South Park episode. Didn't Stan's dad want to be a dolphin or something?
Yes, actually, yes, that's true, and they adjusted that South Park. Yeah, I remember that episode. But Courtney, you're next. Sometimes my accent plays a role here, but briefly, Courtney, you're next. I hope you're here. I think you're here.
I think she's left.
No, but it shows red. I mean,
Hmm.
okay, let's just continue on, and then if she wants to speak, then we just go back to her. Next in the line is Abigail Sakadi Mukolo. Abigail, is it my English failing me today? I don't know. Abigail. Okay. I will moving on. If you want to speak, it's fine. If you want to text, you can also do that. But anyways, I'm gonna continue into the chat. I see Jennifer is saying that she's into vintage. Then there's a interesting dress with the Winter Soldier theme. Good stuff. And next one is Orlando. Go ahead.
I just want to say, good job, guys. You scared everyone else away. Great job, guys.
No, it was your face when they saw you, they automatically ran
That
away.
doesn't make any
Sorry.
sense. I just turned it on and they just went. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop. Honestly, I forgot what I was gonna say because that was a long time ago. But it's okay. I'm just gonna derail the conversation. What did I put down? Oh, playing my voicemail. So I think here, I mean, like, I want to keep challenging this idea of can we really change? Like, when we accept something new, when we say, oh, I like to do this now, am I really changing or am I just realizing something that already existed? Because when you accept things or when you like things, it's sort of this, and it's like this sensation that comes of. It's like you don't choose it. Maybe you choose certain things that are healthier for you and you kind of like that, and in that sense you change. But for the most part, things that you just like, it's like it's impulsive. You're not choosing to do it. And so in that sense, it's like, okay, well, where does that come from? Once again, it comes from the society in a sense, because once again, you're molded by the society, you're changed by the society when you're young. And so, with that being the case, I mean, like individualism, maybe we're looking at it the wrong way. Maybe we shouldn't be looking at it specifically at the individual, but maybe by the society. Like, how does the society shape the individual? Let's compare Eastern countries to Western countries. How do the people there, what's their culture and what's their difference? Fernando, you guys spent all this time talking all this nonsense and talking about Fishman. Didn't say this
Come
one.
on.
I didn't
I
say that
said
once.
it.
I
I
didn't say
said
this
it. Oh
once.
my God.
And if you
You're
did, you
being
said it
such
poorly,
Orlando
bro.
right now. Oh my
But
God.
but let me
Oh
let
my
me
God.
go ahead.
You're
Let me,
literally stealing my last line. Unbelievable.
I literally. All
Unbelievable.
right. What did you say then? What did you say? What
No,
did you
no, please, please continue. Just go with do you need barbecue? You need some pepper.
No,
Oh my.
actually, I already wrote this down, but it's okay. What I'm saying though is that maybe we're just looking at it the wrong way. I feel like we keep coming at this idea of, okay, we humans have all this control over ourselves, but I don't know if that's necessarily so true, and I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it kind of comes from you being humble enough to say maybe it's not, and maybe then you can kind of choose to have some freedom, and in that freedom you kind of understand yourself better. And what I'm saying is like, okay, I understand that I'm capable of so much change. Well, what change is it? What are the qualities of myself that I want to emphasize and feel happy with? Rather than saying, oh, let me just go from this crazy thing to this other crazy thing to this other crazy thing. And then at the end, you don't even understand yourself because you didn't realize in the beginning that there are certain qualities of you that just exist.
Yeah, I agree with you to some degree. I do have this question though. Like, I do think that we have to look into society to understand to some degree the individual. But there are some elements that they have to be new. Like, there are some things that something event sometime and like in the past it was actually new. Like actually somebody actually created something new. Now it's just kind of like harder to be new, but there was a time where there was a thing, like more often than right now. So like I think that the chances of actually an individual like shape, shaping society is also possible. And I will say this, for example, in my country was to some degree capitalism, and then there came one guy and said, "Nah, I don't like that," and he like moved enough people to convert that society from capitalism to socialism,
Mhm.
and now my country is socialist. But that started from an individual. So like I think like both cases are possible, but I think that they just affect differently. And maybe this is something that George wants to say because I see that he's saying consumerism and individuation.
Can I respond to that real quick? Just real quick.
Yes.
So the reason I want to respond is because like that's why I asked before, what's new and what makes up new? And like that's why this idea of like, okay, well, I'm gonna make this new thing because this pre-existing problem prompts this new thing. And that's what I'm
Hmm.
saying by, like in terms of socialism, maybe he saw, okay, maybe us being capitalist isn't the best path for my country. Let's turn socialist. But I think under that idea, you kind of have to look at it and say, well, what kind of people are these different economic systems producing? What kind of person is produced by a capitalistic society? What kind of person is produced by a socialist society? And then what I'm kind of a little bit more interested in this conversation is like, is one better? Is it a case by case basis? Should there ever be a one society world? I don't know if I agree with it. I don't think so because I think what helps individualism is that you have all these different shades of humanity. You have these capitalistic, you have these socialistic, and you have all these different types of economic systems. I think people look at it and they say, well, it just happens to be that way. No, it's because it's a reflection of us as individuals because there's so many different shades of people, there's so many different shades of systems. And I think that's, once again, that's kind of where individualism comes from.
Yeah. Something very quick. This being philosophy club, I think it's safe to say that everyone agreed that there is just one correct way of doing these things. Anything else is not right. Yeah. But go ahead, George. Um,
This exclamation point was a little old. It was back when Marcus was talking about a whole different bunch of different things. And the thought came to my mind that here in this capitalistic culture we live in, a lot of times we individuate based on our consumerism, our consumer preferences. What brand of t-shirt do we like to wear? What kind of music do I like to listen to? What sports do I like? What media do I like? It's all that. What phone do I have? Which console do I prefer? These choices that we make, It's a trap. We think these choices make us who we are as individuals, but that's crap. That's a terrible way to define yourself based on what you like to do or what you buy or how you spend your time and your money. That's just a trap that these capitalists have got us stuck in, that we should define ourselves that way. And we do it as a society, our whole society, this capitalistic society. Haha, I'm an individual because I prefer Apple. That's nonsense. That's what the
Yeah, what a dumb,
corporations want you to
what a
think.
dumb decision, Apple.
This
Just so
is
inferior.
where I'm going to come in with my college pastor perspective, with my selfish plug, and be like, you need to develop the spiritual side of yourself to escape from this trap. Because if you're defining yourself based on the stuff that you buy, you're just, I don't know. I feel like you'd be empty inside if you try that. You need to develop the spiritual side of yourself. You need to disconnect from this world and its systems, and you need to reflect on yourself as somebody who is made in God's image, somebody who's there to help other people and make the world a better place, and not.
Well, let me. Can I interject
for
real quick? Because I like the point you're making. Here's where the theme kind of reemerges. If you're born into a, very much capitalistic inspired culture, then that's how you learn how to individuate. Your society is teaching you, and so is it really our place to like blame other people? That's what they're being taught. Now, I'm not trying to take away self-accountability or anything like that, but it's like when you're a young, impressionable, organism that's growing into somebody who has self-awareness, you're still learning these habits, and I don't just mean habits like actions, but you're learning habits of judgment. You're learning how to value certain things. You're learning what an individual is. So if you learn about an individual in the context of a culture that's very much, again, influenced by capitalism, again, we're creatures of habits. We're going to habituate ourselves to individuating in that way. What's fascinating, and y'all brought this up repeatedly, is that there are different societies that, because they're run differently, because their government is different, the way they understand the term individual is better or worse. I mean, we could.
Someone did not like your point, Nancy. I will have to agree with the dog. I will have to agree with the dog.
She wants you
That's
to
better.
know that Apple is the best and PC is terrible, and that you can't convince her otherwise.
George gave her
This is just personal.
He has been
confusion. Even an Apple
he has
is
been individualized wrongly. That's what I'm gonna say. That
George
dog is just wrong.
Hey, Manzi, I got a
Yeah.
question, kind of based off like what George said. Well, I guess just also like a random situation. So what if we do find a way of living that kind of seems to be the correct way? Like for some, I guess you could say like spirituality. And so then we do see that different societies do produce different kinds of people. Like, should we enforce then a society that produces this specific kind of person? I don't think so. I personally don't think so. But I'm just curious what you guys think.
But
Yeah,
I
well,
don't.
real quick, let me just say this before I move on, and I'm just going to talk the whole rest of the club. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I think that's a good question, because for a very long time in the field of philosophy, especially, you can read about this. The idea, and I'll be speaking on this slightly at tomorrow's journalism speaker set, that okay, so if you believe, I'll just put it in the most general of terms, if you believe that there is a best life, if you believe that there is a good way to live, if you believe that happiness is something that is specific to the organism, and if we are a human organism, creature of God, however you want to put it, and we understand what it is that we are, and then we can maximize the features that will in turn produce our happiness. If you believe that, then you should also believe that some societies and governments are better or worse at that than others. But if you are raised in such a way where there is no peak human performance, so to speak, where it's simply, there is no better or worse, it's all human, bro. And we will be what we will be. Que sera, sera. Well, then that's a little different. That's more along the lines of values themselves. Happiness itself is up for maybe not debate, but it's up for conversation. And then we could agree to disagree on that. But that means you don't believe in things like human nature. Or at the very least, you don't believe that there's a one road to, your joy, your happiness. But I do think
Yeah,
it's interesting. Orlando, you said you didn't think that, but you're also raised in a democracy where every single individual voice matters, regardless of how you. So it kind of makes sense that you would think that those are the values you were taught by your society.
So, but wait, hold on one
but,
second though.
but I do want to
'Cause
add something.
there's a
I do
difference
want to
though.
add
There is a
something.
difference.
I want
Let
to
you
add
go.
something
Yeah, go for it.
because
Yeah.
this is the thing. Like at least the way I see it is like it is hard to say that it's a specific one way to do something that it makes you so great, because if then everyone aims to be the same type of person, the society needs different roles. So like if let's say that the best way to live our life is to like have a house in the beach, and like but if you don't have the house at the beach, what are you gonna do? Like not everyone can live in the beach, so that's not feasible for everyone. So like to there are some things like cannot, it doesn't make sense for some people to try to be that way because they just don't like I guess I have to say this, but in a society, I mean, there's so like you cannot have, everyone cannot have the same role. Period. Like like not everyone can be the president, because then who is gonna do the most basic things underneath? Like there has to be
There has
some
to be a
kind of like,
carpenter. There has to be an electrician, a
yes, exactly.
bricklayer, a
So
priest.
I don't think we can get that like a, prime of who is the best version of humankind. That would depend on like the type of person you want to be, and I guess you start adding attributes that will fit into that personality, I guess. I don't know, don't quote me on this, but I'm being recorded, so I guess we could quote me on this.
Hey, Nancy, I want to respond to what you said. It was this quote. I forgot who it was by. It said, "If personal sovereignty exists anywhere, it exists everywhere." And so, like the way that I interpreted that is that, like, if there is a place on Earth where someone is like has their autonomy, when other people see that, in a sense, they're gonna want it. It's like, okay, that person's living their own life. They're having their own way of life. I kind of want that for myself. I would say, okay, you'd say, okay, well, you're saying that human nature doesn't exist by saying there's no one way. Well, maybe it does exist, and it starts with personal sovereignty, if that makes any sense. And so, with that being the case, it's like it's not closed-ended; it's open-ended instead. But there's only like a certain capacity for it, where you have different shades of individualism, rather than just versus one way, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's a very strong counter argument. Yeah, I think that there is very much a whole lot of just information studies that would support your point. But at the same time, though, I do feel like there are exceptions to that thought, which is to say that there are some people who don't want so much freedom. Freedom's scary. That's what adolescence is. You realize how free you are, and it's terrifying, by and large. And so I do think that there are individuals from, all different societies, not just the American democratic capital, quasi-democratic capitalist society, where they'd rather be given structure and not so much worried with, who they are. I mean, Orlando, again, I think that what you're saying is accurate, and I love it because it's optimistic. But there are a lot of people who, if you say, have you thought about your freedom, or have you thought about who you are, your personal identity, they would laugh at you. They'd be like, why would I even bother thinking about it? Like, I am what I do, or if you're an American, I am what I make. That's what it amounts to. But talking about specifically individuating from society, maybe there is a single way in which humans do individuate, and it manifests itself differently based upon the particular circumstances. I do agree with that.
Okay. I'm gonna read the queue. This conversation has taken like a long, but I mean, it's nice. It's very nice. Don't get me wrong. I love it, but we have to move in the queue. All right. So Yusha said, I always tell my mom that if enough different people are in a place, they are inherently the same. Then Jennifer responded or just texted. As we get older, the pathways in our brains begin to shut down. So when you wonder why someone is so narrow-minded, it's because they literally are. Then Delphine is saying, "What is the definition of freedom?" So the society determines my freedom, which is a good question. Then Jennifer, you said, from now on, I'm following the Donald Jessica Trump example. Just do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter what the laws are or reality. Just do you, I guess. Then George, you were trying to speak again. This time on freedom definition. So it's technically your turn to speak.
Okay. Yes, I didn't realize that Jennifer had put that in the chat. I didn't read carefully enough. Just do whatever you want to do. I'd like to push back on that definition. I think that's a definition of freedom that a lot of us have. Like, we recognize the society has to have rules to function. So if I'm free, it's I can do whatever it is that I want to do, and then I'm free. I don't think that's the right way to do it, because I think in that case, our own desires become our slave masters, right? The alcoholic craves his drink. He wants his drink, but the drink is not good for him. It's not healthy for him. His desire for drink is master over him. It's the same with all that. If we want money, if we want power, if we want sex or whatever else, our desires can control us and they can take our freedom away. Here in this culture, we think it's great to pursue your desires, but our desires aren't good masters either. We don't always want what's good for us. I think a better definition of freedom is the power to live an abundant life. I think freedom is the power to live an abundant life. And you need to have your basic needs met. All right, but beyond that, anybody in any government or in any station of life can live an abundant life. And again, I'm going to push the spiritual side of things. You're a spiritual human being, not just a consumer, not just someone who desires things and wants to get those desires fulfilled. You take care of your spiritual life, because our spirituality is available to everybody on earth, as long as we've got our basic needs met. So again, I think freedom is the power to live an abundant life. What do y'all think on that?
That's an interesting perspective. I like it. I like the definition. I do think that Jennifer was trying to say that it seems like for certain people, even like not recognizing reality and just going with it seems to work. I don't know if she was trying actually to suggest just do you, but I think that's basically around the lines of what she's saying, that some people just avoid reality whatsoever and they act in a specific way, and it seems like they shape some type of new reality with it. That was my intake. Whether I
I am now
support that
getting caught
vision or
up on the
not.
chat here that I got whooshed very hard by Jennifer, so my bad. Uh,
I don't know. I don't have that. I don't have that freedom. I have to like stay in the chat where I have, but otherwise I lose where I was supposed to go. But anyway, I will continue reading. So, the fan he said, "I can a person be free in a prison?" I guess that will depend on your definition of freedom. Maybe you can actually start thinking of who you are and eventually self-realize the I don't know, the spirituality, I guess, that you have in you, and you become freedom in a prison. But I mean, there are ways.
Can
Orlando,
I let me jump in real quick
yes.
to that question. There's a famous philosopher named Epictetus who was a slave, and he wrote specifically about that. Can somebody be free, not in prison, but can somebody be free if they are, again, extremely limited in their options and their opportunities? And his response was very similar to what George was saying. You can be free spiritually, which is to say internally. Whether or not that's a satisfying response is a question, but yeah, I appreciate that question, because it's one that some major philosophers have ruminated on, and you're in good company.
That's good.
All right.
Okay, so we'll continue reading the chat. So they says, do you need water to swim? I mean, if we go literal, yes. I mean, you can pretend, but then the fan said, water is a necessary condition to swim. You see, you get roasted very quickly. So then Jennifer, how does the rock not have much in common with us? It's altered by wind and water. It changes with the environment. So do we. There you go, Marcus. That's for you. That's for you. So then we continue. Yusha, you can swim in sand and snow as well. I mean, sure. I mean, it makes sense to some degree. And the fan, I learned that. Oh no, something. Oh no, I got pushed back. Wait, where am I? Where am I? Where am I? There you go. Okay, I learned that in my ethic lesson. So the fan learned that in a class, I guess maybe this semester. Good stuff. Good stuff. And Yusha, you are next.
Thank you.
You,
Thank you. Great
you just
discussion.
gonna skip me like that?
What?
You just gonna skip me like
What?
that?
Wait,
You're
wait.
not a skip.
You're not before me.
You're not before Yusha.
It says I'm before him. What? All right, I guess we
Where?
did it at the same time. That's all right. Go ahead,
It's okay. You can go
Yusha.
as you
No, no, no,
We
no, no,
both
no, no, no,
posted
no.
it at 4:05.
No, bro. I am in three. No, you're way behind. I'm in
Oh, he's an half an hour.
3:39. I'm in 3:39. Like, nah, you.
3:39.
Yeah.
Yes,
Dear
yeah.
God, man.
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
last.
That's why. Yeah,
That's the
go
last
ahead.
one anyway. That's the last.
But
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Yusha.
all right. Thanks. Appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, technically you can't swim in water and snow. But coming back to the point, George, I have a rebuttal for you. I mean, it's in the chat as well. Myself, I'm a very spiritual person, and even that can turn into a vice, just like you presented the example with alcohol. So being too spiritual and not giving any regard to the physical world, that in and of itself is a vice. So is that not us limiting our own freedom? Vice versa, a person who is in any form of imprisonment, whether being a slave, being in prison, indentured servitude, whatever, that person is still free. And because see, if we look at the definition of freedom, there's one that I look at which is very limited. It's the things that you are physically free to do, like you can't leave, you can't break out and stuff like that. Those are of course your limitations. And then there's other freedoms that allow you to do other things, like you have the freedom to eat the meal that you were provided, or you have the freedom to not eat it. No one's forcing that food down your throat while you're in servitude or imprisonment. Second, you have the freedom to commit suicide, or you have the freedom not to do it. So a person is technically still free even while in prison. Just look at I forgot his name. Martin Luther King. We have the president of South Africa. Jesus.
Mandela.
Yes, Mandela. Thank you, Nelson Mandela. I mean, even he touches up on the stuff that he was free as a bird in that tiny cell. If you look at if you go and visit the sites where he worked and where he used to mine on the fields for the jail. So yeah, even while imprisonment, you are free, and you don't only have spiritual freedom. Manzi, I think you missed it, but I was just calling out that being spiritual is a vice in and of itself. Like we discussed back when I took your class, I think 2019 or 18, something like that. In a Socratic circle, we discussed that just like any other vice, drugs, alcohol, adultery, cursing, talking too much, any of those vices that you can fall into, being too spiritual is one of them. So you might want to tread carefully there.
Can I
Okay.
offer
You're
a
speaking.
quick response?
Yeah, I was just saying, you're
Yeah.
speaking in terms of moderation. You should. Like you mean like too much in excess of anything is a vice?
Yes.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
George.
Well, then, yeah, certainly we can agree that you can be too extreme even in a good thing like spirituality. I think we're in agreement there. My main point, though, is that our desires can't be in the driver's seat when it comes to things like freedom, right? Because some of our desires are good, and that's what Orlando said. Is spirituality a desire? Yeah, it is. It's a good desire, unless we take it too far. So there are some good desires, there are some bad desires. So just doing what we want to do or what we feel like doing can't be the thing that makes freedom freedom, because our desires might lead us astray. So I pointed to spirituality as a way to kind of counteract that. But that was my main point, was that freedom is not doing whatever you want to do, but freedom is living an abundant life.
Yeah,
And
there's
that's a whole other question, is how to get that.
Yeah,
there,
but that
there's
that 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 is
no,
under the impression that freedom is good. Like freedom, I mean, freedom for me is just freedom. You can do bad or good with that. But if we want to say like freedom should be ending in something good, then I will be completely behind you.
Let's
Um,
take away your freedom and see if you still think it's not a potentially a good thing. Is freedom a good thing? Come on,
I didn't
Ferdinando.
I didn't say that, Marcus.
You
You just
just
want to fight.
said. You
I
just
said
said. Is freedom a
I
good thing?
didn't, Marcus. What I said is I don't think freedom and necessarily ends into it. I feel like freedom is it can go anywhere. You just want
All
to
right.
fight with me. If you want
No, I
fight,
get
I
you.
give you
No, I
fight.
get that,
All
Fernando.
right.
That
No,
makes
no,
sense.
no,
That
no.
makes sense,
Just
bro.
let me.
Like, let me ask
No,
you a question, Marcus. Is dying a good or bad thing?
Is what?
Is death good or bad?
Neither. It's just a
Exactly.
process.
That's the point.
no, it's
Freedom
good.
is the same.
okay. I will continue reading.
Let me just say this.
Just froze.
There's a difference between freedom, FREEDOM, and freedom, FREEDUMB, which I think is George's point. Thank you, folks. I'll be here all night. The 9 o'clock show is
All right, I'm
completely
getting out
different
of here.
from
Bye.
6:30. Uh,
Wait,
look,
I want to
let's-
get to my.
Wait, Marcus, give me a second. Give me 1 second, Marcus. Then I want to hear what you have to say. But
Okay.
George is bringing up something that is really fascinating. And really, everybody's already touching upon it. It's our natural desires aren't necessarily good for us. So if you desire things in excess, in abundance, they may not be of service to you. They may not be necessarily to your benefit. They may be to your detriment. So there is this idea of trying to determine for oneself individually what works for me and what doesn't. What are the desires that I have that I should nourish? And what are the desires I have that I should let wither away? But of course, that process of nourishing a desire or allowing a desire to wither away is very contingent upon the societal rules and regulations that allow you to conduct your life. So, yeah, I mean, it might be, my point is this, it might be tough to even discern what is good for you, especially if you're raised in a society that is corrupt and it's trying to convince you that consumerism, for example, is how you individuate when perhaps there are better ways. All right. Back to the
I
queue.
will.
No, I
I will
agree with
read the
that
cue.
too. Because like I feel like that's why it's important to realize that you shouldn't just accept this idea of freely changing. It's like this idea you need to understand what is like what's your foundation. I feel like that's the most important part, in my opinion.
Okay. I will read the cue. So, all right. So Orlando was laughing out loud. Then he said he can grow grills though. Then Jennifer said he needs gillyweed for that. Then Harry Potter, trying to be very specific. I like what you did right there. Then time to leave, lol. That was Orlando at 3:40. Marcus at 3:40. Just so you have a timeline of whatever is happening, you see. So, and he continues. Does the queue not exist anymore? No, not today. That's we gave you the perception of freedom, but that was never an option. So, Marcus, then he said, oops. And then Orlando, whoopsies. And Marcus said, Courtney next. Well, Courtney is still not here. Maybe if you are, you're still in the queue. Do not worry. Or maybe you're not. So then Orlando, why you keep talking like that? You're making me look dummy. So then Marcus is then Mukolo, then Orlando, and then Dulac. But we already talked about that, so we're good. Then Orlando, she left because of you all, lol. And Yusha, one can aspire to be a different species, but without the identifying characteristics of a fish, how can one be a freaking fish? Ask him. Um, so then we have Orlando again. This is all your fault. Oh no. There you go. Okay. And Delphine, if we change the different species, then we're not human at all, right? This question is for Mansi. There you go. So
Yeah,
great guys. Oh, but he left. He left. He left right after that question. He left at 50. Sad. So sad.
we are over time.
Uh, then Orlando was laughing out loud again and saying those darn capitalists. Yeah. Mm. Then Jusha, I believe that us as humans trying to find our identity as an individual is in any society who stand out as unique is just the same as a snake chasing its tail, aka the Uroboros. Uroboros seems like Resident Evil. Uh, I mean, I got it from Resident Evil, just saying. And then an Apple is a PC personal computer. Bro, wrecked. It was a joke and laughing people laughing a lot. Then Rouge, you're right. Impeachment are the master of. Oh, wait, what happened with the chat? Okay, it's coming back to me. You're right. Impeachment are the masters over him. Actually, scratch that. Ooh. Okay, I think that's what George was saying. I think I'm catching. I'm catching up with you. I'm catching up. Then, well said, George. That was Marcus. So then, Orlando, is spirituality not a desire or it is it a need? And I think George was also talking about it already. Yusha, I will push back on that, George. Spirituality is a vice in and of itself. I'm not sure if that's what you were mentioning already being in the chat, but if you texted it, I mean, you were just promoting your own chat. I see. I'm gonna do a like to that. So I mean, good marketing. Good marketing. I like that comment. So then Jennifer, she said, I mean, he seems to get away with it, and people actually still throw money at him. That's true. And then we have Marcus. You see, Marcus? You see? I never skipped you. Good stuff. Are you gonna speak or you already spoke and I just continue with the Kia?
It's okay. I don't think he's here. We can move on.
Okay, so moving on, yeah. Moving on.
Damn,
Then if
what was that countdown? Y'all gave me 2 seconds. Holy shit.
you have to be on
Wow.
your toes. You have to be on your toes.
Anyway, what I was trying to say in between all those LOLs that Ferdinando was reading was that being in prison, okay, let's see if we can get back to the conversation. The question of are you still free in prison or as a slave? I think being in prison or a slave highlights some of the most important and fundamental parts of freedom. You are still so just like we talk about internal freedom. You know, you're so free in your mind. You lock a corn stalk in a cage. He's imprisoned. That corn stalk is still the corn stalk it always was. I don't know what else. But a human being, okay, yeah, sure, we can't go on a run, but I can think thoughts. I can have feelings. I can have motivations. I can plot. I can plan. I can, all these things that, you ask what is freedom. I think that's the most fundamental part. Then you take away every physical part of freedom, and the only part that it is left to exist is that part that's invisible. We go, oh, I'm free to run. I'm free to exercise. I'm free to drink this cup of coffee. I'm free to take this shot. Yeah, that's cool, freedom, but it's like that's not the fundamentals of freedom. Fundamentals of freedom is changing the inside, because that's where oh, I can go inside of myself to change, not just change the outside part. And that is highlighted through limiting of freedom, which I find interesting now that I just realized. I just think that's really interesting. You're almost forced to deep dive into those parts of your own freedom to escape your imprisonment, and so therefore it gets a little bit more exercise. So that's interesting. But yeah, that's what I had to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. And the rub though is that you learn about your inside from society, right? Society teaches you what a human being is capable of. Society teaches you what you're capable of individually in terms of your capacities. So some societies, for example, teach that there's such a thing as a soul. Others don't. So that's the road. It's like I mean, when you use these terms, like you have to dive into your, your internal awareness. I totally agree with you. But is that because we're both a product of the same society that we see eye to eye like that? That's the thing.
Okay, good stuff. So now I will continue with the queue, and you said you're next with free while in prison, and he said he's good. So we continue. Then, okay, Orlando, it's it's earlier in the chat. Ah, yes, we raised it. So okay, so Marcus got me. Pa pa pa. Okay, maybe don't read out every lol. I have to do it. So right. So do you just pace around what you think and talk? I'm not sure if I understood that comment, Jennifer. Uh, do you just pace around what you think and talk? I'm not sure. Maybe you can just expand a little bit in the chat and I will read it.
He's talking about me and how I fuck and how I just walk around.
Oh, yes. Yes, he totally does that. And he does that not just while walking, he does it like even sitting. Just like, anyways. So, or watching devs, Orlando. Not throwing shading here. So then, yeah, I have to. Jennifer, I feel that. Orlando, not necessarily. You said, yeah, Marcos is like those wind up toys for him to think he needs to walk. I get it from time to time. Then George, question mark, societal origins of beliefs. I actually think I
Can
catch
I
up.
say this? Can I say
Yes.
this? So those who studied under, okay, so Aristotle, famous philosopher, was known because he was always walking while he was lecturing and talking. He never stood in one spot and taught. So people who studied under Aristotle, they were called the Peripatetics, which it's derived from an ancient Greek term, which means to walk and talk. So those who were Aristotelian, they were known as being people who constantly paced while they thought, while they talked. So you're in good company, Marcus.
Okay. Um. All right. So, I mean, I don't need to walk by talking, but if I want to process
Glad to hear
information
it.
faster, I need to move. Um. But yeah. I know it's George's turn. That's all I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
Jeff
right.
was raised the point like, okay, we can't escape from society, right? So when I say, you need to develop your spirituality, or Marcus says, you need to look to the soul, well, it's your society that told you that, so you haven't really escaped. So 2 points in rebuttal. Sure, you haven't escaped, but I don't think it really matters. I mean, last time we talked about being unable to escape from society, but again, it's not even clear that that's a good thing. Like, we need to individuate, we need to distinguish ourselves from society, but the fact that we can't completely escape is fine. I was raised in a society that taught me the rules of math, and it taught me that 2 plus 2 equals 4, and then 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, those things are true. Now, how did I come to learn those things? Well, society taught me. Society taught me the rules of math, and society taught me how to apply them. But that doesn't mean that 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4, or that 4 times 2 doesn't equal 8. Some things are true even if we get taught them by society, and even if society is fallible. So, yeah, some society believe in the soul, some society believe there's no soul. One of them's right. The people in that society believe the right thing, even if they came to believe it just because they happen to be born in that society. That's kind of my thought. So philosophy is trying to figure out, is there a soul or not? Which society is right? Sure, you can't just say, I was raised that way, so I think I'm right. Now, you got to hash it out. You got to get in there and do the work. But if our conversation here is pointing in the direction that, hey, maybe an important part of freedom is to have this inner part of freedom, or this soul searching, maybe we're on the right track, and maybe we should look in that direction.
Okay. I will read
Good point.
this, and I think is rooted into a lot of things that happen in our society. Orlando say you should attempt to escape society that oppresses individuality. What if they just have a different concept of soul? Which it comes with, like, I guess, like different religions and things like that. And then Marcus says our concept of soul equals no soul. what then? What then? I mean, what then with a D. So it's not like then. It's just then like then. And then would one
Thank you for
really
that
be
rehashing.
right over the other? You're welcome. You're very welcome. If my concept of God is different, am I wrong? So there you go.
No,
That
Orlando. I want to talk about that. Since just being, we talk about philosophies. Just like George said, is the it's what's the word? It's it's filtering.
Start
It's
walking,
filtering the things that
Marcus.
you're
You're losing your thoughts.
introduced
Start
to.
walking.
I know. I'm sorry. Um, it's whether or not to accept
get the
everything you've been
smiles.
taught and what to change from what you've been taught. It's figuring out if what you've been taught is true and what to accept for yourself. I don't even know what we're talking about now. I'm fading in and out of.
Okay, what I'm gonna say is this, Marcus. You need to have one of those watch that tells you how many carbs have you burned, like when you were
Steps
doing exercise. Yeah, the
on
step thing. You need
on the
one of those.
days of the meetings.
Yeah,
It'd be
on the days, the
sky
minute you
high.
just start like walking, I mean, it's not bad exercise. I'm telling you that. Um, uh, all right. So yeah, the queue. I finally caught up with it. I think it's a good time to start like wrapping up. Um, I will read one more thing here. Orlando says, "I don't know about that's me and philosophy." Yeah, that's Marcus every day. Every time that he walks and talk, or not. He has very good points. He has very good points. Or society gave them those points and he's just repeating them. We will never know. So, um, so
Good
Jennifer
talk.
said, almost, yeah,
Lady.
it's very good talk. And listen, we talk so much that Jennifer is almost out of nachos. Like that's a good talk. That's good talk right there. I'm telling you that. All right, I guess it's time to wrap up. As always, check us out in social media. If you want to be added into our email, just send me your email and I will do that for you. I updated it, the website. So if you try to join us, you are required to put your name in because that one person wanted to speak with us, but he didn't put his name. It's like, how can I know who I'm supposed to reach if I don't know who is trying to reach us? So I updated that. So please, if you want our help, tell us who you are. Just common courtesy. And that's it. I will be updating this recording on YouTube, if not today, tomorrow. So you should be expected to be famous, at least your letter, um, by tomorrow. All right. Any other type of announcement that I'm missing? If not, just remember any type of submission for the conference is good. If you just want to say, you know what, I want to um, make clear how poetic a silence can be, and you just stare at the screen for 3 minutes. If that's your core philosophy, and then we have to talk about what we experience philosophically, I mean, you can try.
That's a really
Like
good idea, Fernando.
I know, I know, I know.
That's amazing.
That's one of my ideas to presentation. I mean, Nancy can always just say no.
That's like
But
modern art, bro. Like you have a plain white canvas.
mhm.
See
I
what
mean, this is the beauty. Like every silence will be different. So I will be there, and then like let's talk about the silence, and the conversation will be the actual cue. Like, but the silence is just for me to think on anything.
See what
But
you hit them with the fake test. You say, look, I'm about to play this sound. It sounds different for everybody. And then
mhm,
you play no sound. And then you're
no
like, okay, what did
sound
you
at
guys
all.
hear?
Just put up a picture of the dress and be like, "Hey guys, what color is it?"
Let
We
me
can
know.
rehash
What
that.
color
I'm
is it?
tired old dead horse.
Oh,
My God, that
But
was
the
the most
point
intense.
the point is you can propose anything. At the end of the day, it will be up to Mansi. It's not like 100% guarantee that you're gonna get in, but if you know the right people, it could be. So there you go. I just throw that out. Just post submissions, and that's it.
if you don't get
Thank you
If
again.
you
accepted, you know where Manzi. We know where he lives, so just let us know if you get rejected.
I will accept if you.
Yeah, you are the right people. Yes, exactly. If you know me, yeah, I am the right people in the for this conference. For this
He
conference.
said, he said no.
For this conference, I am. But anyways, yes, I think I'm not missing anything else of importance. If I am, oopsie, that we don't have much time. And yeah, until next week, unless
Take care,
something
y'all.
else happens.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you very much.